Excuse me, if I may interrupt.
What happens if they don't follow the verdict of the authorities? What happens then?
Is the trial still going?
Technically no.
Fremine! Oh, you finally made it. I assume this means you've completed your mission?
Mm-hmm. Any mission Father assigns to me will always be top priority.
Wasn't half an hour to eat. Fremine brings a stone slate.
That the first prophecy slate?
What's that supposed to mean? Wait, the Oceanids are there. Who's the dude in the middle? I mean, I still maintain that Farina has to go in order for the Gnosis to be free to go back to Neuvillette so that he can do his super cool voodoo shit and save Fontaine. But, you know, Fontaine has to flood, so the two things don't make sense together.
Huh. So the knave privately arranged for Fremine to try and find the missing slate.
I looked everywhere and finally found it at the bottom of the sea. It took me a long time to get around some dangerous stretches of water. But has the trial already concluded? Then doesn't that mean I've come too late? Oh no. Father will be disappointed in me.
Don't worry, the mystery hasn't been resolved yet. It's still not too late for you to shine. Actually, interestingly enough, it was a male in the picture. I still say that child has something to do with the Archon. I'll tell ya, I know it's the primordial sea and the whale and shit, but there was a male in that picture. Don't worry, the mystery hasn't yet been resolved. It's not too late for you to shine. It's not still too late for you to shine. Yeah,
Thank
whatever.
you for your hard work, Mr. Fremine. Please allow me to review the record left on the slate.
Oh, he can use his powers on it, can't he?
Traveler, I believe that you have already seen the other existing slates, and would like you to come here and confirm their contents.
Huh? So what do you see? What is it?
This looks like the previous Hydra Archon releasing her divine power, turning the Oceanids into human beings, which would explain why they dissolve when they touch the primordial seawater. Because they came from that very seawater, hence they dissolve. Wow.
I believe I've now made sense of the Hydro Archon's crime. It has to do with Fontaine's lost history.
Huh?
Ah, damn it.
Isn't the Hydro Archon just guilty of deceiving her people? Oh, wait, no, that's Farina, and we've already proven that she's not the Hydro Archon. So when you say Hydro Archon, do you mean the real Hydro Archon we've been kind of talking about?
In truth, everything that you've encountered in Fontaine up until this point can be traced back to the contents of these stone slates. However, I'm uncertain as to how much sense they currently make to you.
Wait, if that's the case, the Oceanids became humans, then that means that Neuvillette cannot dissolve in water. I mean, I still already had the theory that he couldn't because I didn't think the dragon was really of Fontaine, but he's not an Oceanid. An association between the contents of the slates and the events in real life.
Okay, let's try to recall the contents of the other 3 stone slates. Paimon will do her best to help you remember.
You just pipe down. I don't need your help. Select to check the descriptions on the stone slates to extract key information from them. You can find scenarios related to the stone slates' contents and the incidents recorded in the interview notebook. Therefore, you can find it. Okay. Okay.
The first stone slate describes what you just said. It seems to show the previous Hydro Archon using her divine power, and then the Oceanids turn into humans. Does that mean that Fontainians are transformed Oceanids? Oh, Paimon wasn't expecting that. But if Oceanids can turn into humans, then perhaps this process can be reversed as well. The second stone slate shows Celestia floating in the sky, and the Hydro Archon and her people worshipping it together.
Oh, that's Celestia.
But the heavens still brought judgment down upon them.
For violating the natural order of life? I'm not quite sure. I know what that is. That's the missing disappearance and the dissolving woman case. But what is this in sense of real term? I'll figure it out in a
This
sec.
must be the point when the Hydro Archon and the Fontainians were branded with their original sin. Does this mean that the original sin and the Hydro Archon sin are the same thing? The third slate shows the Hydro Archon sinking into the sea surrounded by many people. That reminds Paimon, didn't we also watch that happen to someone else? Well, the fourth slate is the prophecy the Fontanians have been talking about. People dissolving into the sea, the Hydro Archon crying on her throne, and so on. We didn't believe that such a crazy disaster could happen at first, did we? But after that incident, it was just a question of when and not if.
Okay. This one. Yes.
We know from the case of the serial disappearances of young women that Fontanians can be dissolved in primordial seawater. And the first stone slate tells us that long ago, the Hydro Archon used her power to turn Oceanids into humans.
Yeah, sorry, I missed the last bit. Well, this is gonna be, Navia.
It's not as simple as falling into the sea. When Navia fell into the sea, her consciousness was subjected to judgment. The stone slates show the people gathered around the Hydro Archon in the sea. Could that be alluding to the same thing?
That doesn't sound quite
But
right.
the image matches.
That doesn't sound...
None of these sounds right. I don't care what you say. None of it sounds
Prophecy from
right.
the stone slates found its way into society, but not many people believed it at first. The fortress of Meropide was nearly flooded with primordial seawater, which we know can cause Fontanians to dissolve. It seems increasingly likely that the prophecy may come true. If we hadn't dealt with it in time, things could have gone very badly.
I don't think that matches it at all, but I guess I'll ignore that.
That doesn't
Oh,
sound
sorry, it
quite...
should be Farina. My apologies.
Perhaps what is about to take place has all happened before. The true sin of the Hydro Archon that Nervilette mentioned, and the original sin cast down on the people of Fontaine by Celestia, as recorded on the stone slates.
They'll dissolve into the primordial sea but won't cease to exist. Their essence will flow in the seawater, converge, and take the form of an Oceanid. The Hydro Archon was sentenced to death in court, shocking everyone present. Perhaps this means that her sin was actually Fontaine's original sin.
But how was that her problem or her fault? She wasn't even alive at the time. How was that her sin? I don't
Navia
understand.
fell into the water inside those ruins, and she nearly dissolved. She was surrounded by the people of Poisson in a court within her consciousness, and was forced to take part in a trial meant to make her stay. The eruption of the primordial sea at the fortress of Meropide was the surest sign that the prophecy was about to come to pass no matter what. The prophecy's contents can all be verified by recent events. If we combine what we know together, loads of truth should come to light.
Verification complete.
Huh? Oh, Paimon gets it now! So that's how you can make sense of it. But then it feels like we're going to have to share some truly shocking revelations.
Let's hear them.
The first slate reveals that Fontaines are not real humans.
Incredible! Linny, did you hear that?
We're not real humans.
I mean, at this point in time, many generations down the tree, and, I'm sure many foreigners have come in and shed their blood, and so I think we've diluted the Oceanid blood a little bit.
All Fontanians were originally created by the late previous Hydro Archon, with Oceanids as their basis. The evidence for that can be found in how only Fontanians could dissolve in primordial seawater, and how all the girls Vacher dissolved were also turned into Oceanids. Oh, and according to Navia, when she was about to get dissolved, She also saw everyone gathered around for a trial. All of them in the shape of Oceanids.
Indeed.
The second slate reveals that the crime of the Hydro Archon was her creation of Fontainians from Oceanids. Yeah, but that's the previous one! You cannot charge somebody for the sins of the father.
Yeah, and it follows from the content of the first slate that she probably angered Celestia by creating humans without prior permission. That could also explain why the Oratrice judged the Hydro Archon to be guilty. It's to account for that ancient sin.
The Hydro Archon's true sin was creating us?
And yet, after many hundreds of years, the Hydro Archon's creations have turned around to try to judge the Archon within the Opera Epiclese. The twists of history are often the most unexpected of all.
As for the third slate, I'm still convinced that it should come after the fourth slate. I'm gonna be honest, I don't like the way that we're using the ancient slates to represent current events in the way that it's happening. It feels, I don't know, cheap and tacky probably aren't the right words, but it doesn't feel epic enough. It feels really anticlimactic, but we'll continue.
Yeah, isn't the image here just like when Navia fell into the sea? So wouldn't it be trying to show the image of the Hydro Archon also falling into the sea once the prophecy has been fulfilled in the fourth slate?
The fourth slate depicts the fulfillment of the prophecy as it's widely known.
In the end, the people will all be dissolved into the waters, and only the Hydro Archon will remain weeping on her throne. Only then will the sins of the people of Fontaine be washed away. Did Paimon get all that right?
You've made some keen deductions. I must say, given how much you still don't know, it is impressive that you've already managed to connect so many pieces of the truth. However, while you were able to decode all the information on the slates, they've also been etched with an additional layer of hidden information using a different power source. When we were at the ruins, I tried to decipher the hidden information recorded in the slates. But since we only had 3 slates at the time, I was unable to come to a full conclusion. Now that the slate collection is complete, I shall make another attempt to decipher the narrative recorded within. If everything goes well, we should finally be informed of the unadulterated truth.
Well? Did you get it?
I believe I should share this truth not only with you, but with all the people of Fontaine as well. I will try to briefly summarize it for you. Your hypotheses regarding the origin of Fontainians and the sin of the Hydro Archon were both correct. In the Fontaine of old, the previous Hydro Archon sensed the yearning of her Oceanid familiars for life on land. The Oceanids were enamored with the beauty and romanticism of human beings, and wishing to have those experiences for themselves, expressed to the Hydro Archon their desire to become of a similar kind. However, even though water as an element is intricately linked with the power of life, the Hydro Archon, as one of the 7, did not possess the authority to create a new form of human life. Not one to give in, she eventually found a way to create permanent humanoid bodies for her familiars by appropriating the power of this planet's primordial sea. She poured primordial seawater into the Oceanids' blood vessels, creating humanoid mimics in the process. But if Fontainians were to ever come into direct contact with water from the primordial sea, the power within their bodies would escape these artificial restraints and return to the sea. As a result, their forms would collapse, and they would be reverted to their original forms as Oceanids.
What is this, the Little Mermaid? They were yearning for love up on the shore, so they changed forms into human, but alas, their form was thwarted and they turned back to what they originally were.
Of course, the Hydro Archon never received permission from the heavenly principles to create a new human race. And thus, the Hydro Archon and all of her creations came to shoulder the original sin of appropriating the power of the primordial sea. That is the true history of how the people of Fontaine first came into being.
So we were all Oceanids before we turned into human beings?
No. Your parents, up through 500 plus years worth. So no, you are not an Oceanid. your ancestors were.
That's way too much information for me. I think I'm just going to pretend that I never heard a single thing. Wait, but if that's the truth, we can't let the Hydro Archon be sentenced to death. After all, her only sin was creating us.
This really might be too much information for your regular Fontanian, but it does answer a lot of our questions.
It doesn't answer about the primordial sea and the flooding.
Alas, your hypothesis regarding the third and fourth stone slates was inaccurate. The slates' respective positions are, in fact, correct.
What is the third slate supposed to represent then?
A key point of the visual on the third slate is how all the individuals depicted in the water are humans rather than Oceanids.
Which is what I saw, and I thought about it, but I was like, maybe it's not important. But no, it clearly is important.
They have not been dissolved, which implies that the water depicted in this slate is not water from the primordial
Correct.
sea. The nation of Fontaine is the nation of Hydro, as well as the nation of trials and justice. Instead of being the literal element, the water in the scene symbolizes judgment and justice. You may also recall Navia's experience. When she fell into the sea, her consciousness was surrounded by that of many others who intended to hold a trial to determine her fate. Therefore, the meaning of the third slate is that the people of Fontaine shall try the Hydro Archon at the court of justice.
It can't be.
Yes, it refers to our present situation.
I think I'm following now. So, what you're saying is, even though we decided to put on this trial to avoid fulfilling the prophecy, in truth, everything we've done has happened exactly as the prophecy foretold. So now, it seems, we're the ones making sure it comes true.
What should we do?
I don't know, it feels like there's no way out of this.
No matter what, the prophecy will be fulfilled. Is this what it feels like to be a prisoner of fate?
If that's the case, does that mean the scene in the fourth slate will also be fulfilled soon?
Traveler, I would like to point out another small fallacy in your deductions about the fourth slate. You probably thought that the eruption of primordial seawater beneath the fortress of Meropide served as the surest sign that the prophecy was about to come to pass, yes? However, I believe that rather than being a sure sign, that eruption could in fact only be a small warning of something far worse to come. As for the root cause of the catastrophe, I believe you've already encountered it once before.
I have? Wait, could it be? I don't know. I don't know. But
This
you
eruption
kind of...
was just a small warning of the things to come. We
Oh, the
must
whale.
find the root cause of the disaster.
The whale! Blame the whale! I feel like we're kind of reducing the prophecy into something that's really sad and pathetic rather than the cool, awesome, apocalypse it was meant to be. The prophecy disaster will likely spread from here. Huh? The whale.
It was both dream and reality.
Told you, it's the whale's fault.
If we're talking about a true culprit, that could only be that thing inside the primordial sea, right?
The truth, the original sin, the trial, and the root cause of the disaster.
But who or what is the whale? Well, that's a bit timely, wouldn't you say? Wait, it's making its home right here, right now? Again, that's bloody timely. What does it want? To consume everybody? Oh my god. Oh my god. Did you come with? It came for a trip. His power's gotten stronger. Go back from whence you came! And make the hole disappear and fix it all. And then collapse. Wait, are you going back? Stay. Oh. Bloody Tartaglia. Do you want your vision back before you go? No, he's gone.
That was way too close!
It stays there!
That thing just burst into the opera house! Wait, was that the huge whale you saw in your dream?
Yeah, it is, but can we get back to the Farina sacrificing herself? Because that's a way cooler storyline, to be honest. Can we get back to that? I like the tragedy of that. That's right, I wagered it was also the one that Child saw when he was young.
So we've met it at last. I understand very well why it has chosen to make an appearance here.
I don't...
That whale does not belong to Tevat. It is a monster that has traversed the stars, weeping all the while.
Ah, so it comes from the astral sea. Yeah, they gathered as much.
It has been greedily consuming the energy from the planet's primordial sea, using it to grow. That is the main cause for the rising sea levels. And once it has finished consuming all of the energy contained within the sea, its next step will be...
Yeah, I know he's trying to make it seem dramatic and like the stakes just got worse, but to me the stakes have just fizzled out and dissolved. There is no apocalypse. There's no super cool sea rising to be worried about. It's just, yeah, kill the whale before it kills you. Go team. It takes the drama out of a natural disaster and just gets rid of it because it's irrelevant now. I don't like it. I don't like the change of events. I really don't.
You said that when the Hydro Archon first created Fontanians out of Oceanids, she filled their blood vessels with primordial seawater.
Yes, so it wants to chomp on every Fontanian.
Precisely. That whale finds the blood of Fontanians nigh impossible to resist. Therefore, when it left the primordial sea,
I'm safe.
Decided to make its next stop a packed opera house full of food. Food in the form of Fontanians.
It was hardly packed. You get what, 100 people here less? I wouldn't really call that a packed theater.
We just barely managed to push it back, right?
There's no we when you didn't help.
Won't it come back to target the people again once it's managed to recover its strength?
But interesting that Tartaglia is turning against the whale that was calling to him. I wonder what has transpired while he's been away.
That is correct. Indeed, it is more accurate to say that we should thank that Harbinger for buying us some time. Without him, the whale would have likely come onto land far sooner. From the way he looked, he must have been fighting the creature for quite a long time.
His hair had grown.
That battle maniac. We've always known that he had a special connection with that whale, but we definitely didn't expect it to help us out like this. Anyway, now that we know that this whale is the actual cause of the disaster recorded in the prophecy, all we need to do to stop the prophecy would be to find a way to beat it up, right?
Oh, sure. We all have the ability to beat up an astral sea whale.
It is too late.
Hey. What does that mean?
It had already absorbed too much of the primordial sea's energy before we could notice it. At this point, it has become practically integrated with the sea itself. Even if the entirety of Tevat were to be destroyed, it could still survive and swim off towards some other world.
As long as you're safe, right?
That's not something I will accept. We've already done everything we can, and we even found the true culprit. We've come so far. You can't just tell me that the last hurdle is some impossible foe. That's just not fair.
We're ignoring the whole Farina trial, Farina period. We're completely ignoring the Oratrice mystery, and we're just worrying about the whale. There's so many other things I want to care about right now, not the whale.
Indeed. That's not how a grand performance should end.
I'll fight it to the end, no matter what.
It is, Linny. Have you not heard of a tragedy? They exist, you know.
So the prophecy will be fulfilled no matter what, huh?
I wonder. Let me come to my mind palace. And remember the words.
Yes, what has been prophesied will be fulfilled. You may view such things as the history of the future.
After everything, it still turned out like this. We couldn't fight against fate. Wait, but if this is all about fate...
Just as prophecies are usually only the future as seen from the perspectives of the gods, could things be happening in hidden corners where the gods' gaze does not fall?
Can Egeria still be alive? I know that sounds like a weird question considering the presence of Farina. Well, I suppose this Hexenzirkel lady isn't Egeria. That'd be too weird, right?
Ultimately, fate shall serve as your only guide, no matter what will happen in Tevat's future. All you need to do is to play your part.
Could it be that even if the prophecy will be fulfilled, there will still be a way to save everyone? Oh, wow, gee, shocker. Never would have thought of that. Did I miss something? Wait, I forgot about Farina. What was it that she wanted to say to me at that last moment in the giant magic box? What is her real secret? Where is Farina? Oh, the Oratrice is having its way whether we like it or not.
What's happening with the Oratrice?
I believe it is preparing to carry out the death sentence.
There we go. This is the drama I wanted. Oh god, she's practically catatonic.
No, I still need answers.
And the drop protected the traveler.
You...
Sorry. That shocked expression on your face is just too amusing. I couldn't help myself.
I like the, Farina? Question mark.
You are not Farina. Who are you?
Egeria.
The sweet sound of bewilderment. Marvelous. A sure sign that my attempt to deceive everyone was a resounding success. But to answer your question, I am Focalor. You know, the god.
But is this the voice of the Hexenzirkel? I told you, everyone's freaking voices sound too familiar.
Focalor. Why did you deceive us?
Oh, that wasn't my goal, of course. Goodness, no. But I had to fool everyone else too, if I was to stand any chance of deceiving.
I guess it just sounds familiar because it's Farina's voice actress no longer doing the shrill, high-pitched voice. It's her doing a normal voice. I guess it's probably why it sounds familiar.
The heavenly principles.
It's a much more pleasing voice to listen to. Can we keep this one? Can we get rid of the shrill thing and leave that for somebody else and just leave this nice tone?
Deceiving the heavenly principles.
That's why no one could know about her sacrifice.
It's all because of that pernicious prophecy. Dreadful, wasn't it? Everyone doomed to dissolve. Fontaine condemned to be flooded.
She's so flat-chested.
One was not amused. In fact, one was positively bemused when that problem was thrust upon me by my dearest predecessor. That's the former Hydro Archon Egeria for the uninitiated. It hardly gets more disastrous than a preordained national catastrophe. Now does it?
Yeah, I would not be amused either if that was thrust upon me by my predecessor. I'd be like, bitch, why am I cleaning up after your mess? But can someone remind me, Egeria, did she die in the Cambrian clusterfuck or did she die from something else? I don't remember. You think I remember the Tevat history? I never do.
She knew full well that the prophecy would surely come to pass.
Because obviously Egeria did not was not made to pay for her sins, hence why Farina is being made to pay for her sins. So Jiria must have died through some other means.
And as one of the 7, she also knew full well that one defies the heavenly principles at one's peril. So yes, as you have no doubt surmised, it was a rather impossible situation that I found myself in. I spent a terribly long time mulling it over, alone on the ocean floor. And I was almost growing barnacles by the time I finally realized there was only one possible solution to this confounding conundrum.
I like her hair far more here, where it's predominantly the one length as opposed to having the jellyfish. I still don't like the ahoge. Is that what they're called? Ahoge? The little curly thing on top?
I had to outwit the heavenly principles.
It's unruly.
Allow the prophecy to be fulfilled, ostensibly at least, while saving everyone at the same time.
But how has her sacrifice protected them from a fucking whale? I don't get it.
I'm a genius, I know. I can only assume that's why Egeria chose me as her successor. Although, looking back now, it was hardly the inheritance one dreams of. Between the task of saving the nation, the quotidian duties of the Hydro Archon, and not to mention the original sin of creating a new race of humans, I dare say she left me quite a colossal mess to clean up. But one can only play the hand one is dealt. I did not choose this, any more than I chose to be one of her Oceanid familiars.
So you were also once one of the Oceanids, transformed into a human by Egeria's hand.
That's why, regardless, she's affected by the Primordial Sea. Yeah, okay.
Yes, I was. I always dreamed of becoming human. And I still do, even now. In my eyes, to be human is to be part of the greatest opera ever known. After becoming a god, I separated my divinity from my body and spirit, leaving behind only a self that was as naive and bewildered as my past self on her first day as a human being.
So where did your divinity go? Into the oratories?
The me you see before you now is that divinity. And the human counterpart I left behind, I named Farina. She could feel joy, sorrow, and everything in between. She could be as vain and conceited, or as meek and vulnerable as she wished. Her strengths were of a kind only a human could possess, as were her shortcomings. But in my eyes, Farina's humanity was what made her perfect. She was perfectly human in every way. The person I always wanted to be. Anyway, so then I cursed her.
I just like the nonchalance of that. She was so beautiful and perfect and everything I wanted to be, and then so I cursed her.
All part of the plan, of course. The plan to deceive the heavenly principles. Do you still remember the final scene of the prophecy? The Hydra Archon alone, weeping on her throne. In order that the prophecy might appear fulfilled, I invited Farina to be an actress, to play the part of the Hydro Archon in the prophecy, under the curse I placed on her. So long as I, Focalor's divinity, continued to exist, she could not die. But nor was she free to live her life in the pursuit of happiness. Instead, she was forced to take the stage in the opera house, to embrace the role of leading lady, to forever play the part of the god from the prophecy, all to create a deceitful appearance of that prophecy coming to pass. I suppose now you probably understand why your court is called the Opera Epiclese.
But Farina is only human, isn't she? Even though she has had a long life, her mind is no stronger than that of any other ordinary human being. I cannot begin to fathom what she has had to endure. It must have been torture for her.
It has indeed. And although she is In a sense, me in human form. I most definitely owe her an apology for it. It's been 500 years.
So all this time, Farina has not understood why she wasn't truly an Archon. Poor girl.
And all along, she's been playing her part in the most unimaginably long, unbearably lonely, and agonizingly painful opera of all time.
But to what end? What's the point? What's the final act? You haven't really told me anything I really needed to know.